We have breaking news. The Toronto Blue Jays have made multiple moves, including one particular move that is extremely interesting. We're going to break down exactly what that is and discuss what it means going forward, as well as break down some other huge updates as it pertains to Dalton Varsho and his return. A ton to go over today, as well as some interesting stats ahead of tonight's game. But before we get into it, if you're a part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Jays content. Your guys' support has been unbelievable, and thank you guys for that. And despite the Jays losing, hopefully, you guys are still obviously enjoying the videos, but most importantly, we have a bunch of updates to go over today, and the return of Dalton Varsho is upon us, and the subsequent move the Jays made in order for Dalton Varsho to be recalled is not the one that I expected. A bit of an unexpected move here. I want to start with, let's start with the moves that are made, and then of course we'll dive into the Dalton Varsho impact, all these different things. Dalton Varsho was reinstated from the 10-day IL and will be active for tonight's game. We'll see if he's in the lineup. Casey Lawrence has reported the team will be active for tonight's game as well. Paxton Schultz and infielder Will Wagner has been optioned to Triple-A. So this one is extremely interesting, and I covered it in the video earlier today about how bad the offense was, and we'll dive into that a little bit more as well in this video. But I spoke about how Alan Roden is probably the odd man out, him or Nathan Lucas. And obviously Nathan Lucas is another center fielder who's a left-handed batter, but he's out of options. So they decided to keep Nathan Lucas around and keep just an extremely outfield heavy lineup, like to the point where not only is it extremely outfield heavy, it is to the point where you have Springer, you have Santander, both of which are probably going to be, DHing a lot now, but they decided to get rid of Will Wagner in this, smorgasbord of moves here. Will Wagner is gone. So let me know down below what your thoughts are on this. It does make sense from a perspective of he had options, so did Alan Roden. And I think at this point, the Jays, Will Wagner has been pretty bad, and we'll dive into his stats in a minute, but he's hitting 186 on the season. And Alan Roden at least is improving, playing better at an outfield position. Roden, they want him to be able to be a contributor this year, and they don't think clearly that he's going to have much benefit or get much benefit from going down and getting a bunch of, we won't have much benefit from getting any reps in AAA, and that's the big difference here because, of course, Dalton Varsho coming back, someone was going to have to move there, and it was ultimately Will Wagner, which it's interesting. Let's look at his stats this year. So last year, in his rookie year, he was really good, really good. A 123 OPS, plus 2 home runs, 11 RBIs. Of course, he was an on-base guy, got hits. This season, not really much of the same. He regressed a lot, a 49 OPS plus in 20 games, and he's 26 years old. And a lot of people think, because he came over in a trade, he was deemed as a prospect. His rookie season was last year, that, hey, maybe he was going to be, maybe he's 23, 24. He is a year older, technically, than Alan Roden. Alan Roden's 25, so they wanted to keep the younger guy, technically. They're basically the same age, though, for all intents and purposes. He's 26 years old, so they think at, down in AAA, getting more reps, refine his hitting profile before coming up is the best bet. But it's a little bit of a bleak outlook now for Will Wagner's future here, and obviously he has lots of time to go down, get better and come back up. But they decided to stick with Alan Roden, whether that's base running, probably. He's a lot faster than Will Wagner. Whether it's positional versatility is the question, because Will Wagner, he's been playing second base. Could he play the outfield if asked? Probably. But let me know if you're surprised about specifically Will Wagner being the one who they decided to let go. And we know the Jays, their hitting struggles are well documented. They're 29th in home runs. They barely hit the ball hard. But you can see this here from Thomas Hall. It remains a very crowded outfield, though, between Varsho, Berger, Roden, Lucas, Straw, Springer, and Santander. You now have 6 to 7 outfielders. Now, maybe they move Berger back in, and if they want to get him everyday reps, maybe they play him at third base, and then Ernie Clement kind of starts to phase out a little bit, or play some shortstop with Bo Bichette DH days. But then at that point, you'd rather have Andres Jimenez at short anyway. Clement he doesn't play second base really. I'm sure he can. It is an extremely crowded infield here, outfield, sorry, and they decided to keep Lucas and Straw, two guys that I thought one of them was surely going to be sent down after. They decided to keep Berger, which is fantastic. And I do ultimately think you need to get Berger in every single game you possibly can. Because if you don't get Berger in, he's never going to develop. I think we know what he is. He smokes the ball. I don't know if he has a ton of development left to do in AAA. I don't know if that's something that necessarily is the best case for him. I think keeping him up with the big league team is absolutely the plan. You can see some reactions here. Didn't think both Berger and Lucas would survive Varsho's return. Now, I expected Miles Straw to say he's had a good year, even though his last game was pretty bad, both in the outfield and on the base paths. But he gets hits, right? Nathan Lucas hasn't been good. He's been a little bit better as of late, hitting the ball. But he's a lefty. I don't know where Nathan Lucas is going to factor into this team now. Like maybe they play him in the outfield corners, but then you'd rather probably play Springer or Allen Rodent or Addison Barge or even Santander there compared to Lucas. So maybe they're just holding out for now. It doesn't make a ton of sense to me why you would keep Nathan Lucas on the team. Clearly they value his big league ability and they think that he can bounce back from, last season he had a pretty good, I believe 821, or it was somewhere in the low 800s, I believe, OPS. And he's strictly a right-handed and he only hits against righties. So maybe I just thought Dalton Varsho would take away almost all the at-bats from Nathan Lucas. And ultimately, it's not the case clearly, but the last two plus Varsho will receive DH reps. There's going to be times where Varsho's a DH and maybe they'd rather start Nathan Lucas on those days. Maybe, Miles Straw comes in and starts against lefties. But then what happens with Lucas? Is he not DH and Lucas? Is he playing one of the corner outfield spots? Sure. But man, oh man, it's going to be interesting. One of the most interesting points is going to be seeing how specifically Addison Barger goes about getting playing time now, whether that be in the infield, whether that be his cannon in the outfield. I think it's a useful tool there and right. And it's going to be interesting to see ultimately what happens there. Let me know down below what your thoughts are on that. A few other things surrounding this. Let's touch on Dalton Varsho for a minute here. He's going to have a huge impact. Covered it in yesterday's video and, of course, this morning's a little bit. Varsho has a 700 OPS last year. That's what his OPS was in 2024 for a 5 WAR. This guy is going to extend the lineup tenfold. He's going to make it better. And obviously, whether or not, hopefully he can be a league average hitter. I have faith he can be. But he's just going to make the lineup deeper. You have a power threat, an everyday guy, played 136 games last year, and prior to that, both seasons with above 150 games. And for a Blue Jays team that has gone 10 straight games without scoring more than 4 runs, they needed some sort of reinforcement. You look at the team now, and of course, this hasn't been updated. I just took a screenshot of this, but it hasn't been updated to the Will Wagner news yet. Will Wagner's gone. You have Dalton Varsho in. So let's say you keep whoever you want to keep in. You have Addison Barger in the 8-hole. So then you have Bo, Vladdy, Santander, Springer, Jimenez, Kirk, Varsho, and then, Barger and Rodent. Like, that's a pretty good, against righties, a pretty good lineup. Now, obviously, against lefties, you put in probably, Ernie Clement and Miles Straw. Tyler Heineman will get some reps, instead of Alejandro Kirk. But the lineup looks a lot deeper now, and just adding one guy makes it a lot better. And even really technically adding two, because you now have, Dalton Varsho, and then you have Addison Barger, who is always a threat to hit a home run. And that's what this team needs. They have not hit the ball well whatsoever. It is well documented by everybody. Josh Goldberg here again. They're 27th in hard hit percentage and pull rate. They're 29th in home runs. Andres Jimenez, as of April 21st, led the Blue Jays in homers and is not homered this month. He still hasn't homered this month, so this remains true. The team is in desperation mode now for some power. They got Varsho back. They sent Will Wagner down, who, maybe one of the reasons they did that is because he doesn't provide any power to this team. Will Wagner is not going to be a guy who has a ton of upside when it comes to power, and this team needs that. And against righties, they have a ton of options again, and because Will Wagner is a left-handed hitter, they probably wanted to send down a lefty, but Barger's a lefty, Lucas is a lefty, and of course, Will Wagner, who got sent down, was a lefty. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. But let me know down below what your thoughts are on this. A ton of different moves. We're going to keep you up to date. Hopefully the Jays can take care of business tonight. But at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be a wild next few weeks. We'll keep you up to date. Thank you guys for watching. Cheers.